Welcome to r/ProRevenge, where financial hardships strike our perpetrators and benefit their victims. Our first story, titled Fire My Boss Unethically, Enjoy Paying for My Unemployment Benefits, comes from Caitlin KitKat. I started working for a small branch of a company and got along really well with my boss, the branch manager, and used to compare him to Michael Scott, not to his face. I would have been Jim Halpert in this scenario. After working there for a while, my boss was approached with an awesome offer to go manage a bigger branch a few hours away. This was because the owner wanted to place his son as the branch manager of a small location and needed to vacate a position to do so. My boss graciously turned down the offer. His kids had just started at their new schools, and he didn't want to uproot them again. He'd relocated to take the current position. This was not taken well by our corporate office, but they couldn't fire him for it, not directly. A few weeks later, I saw our office manager, a lady nobody in the office liked, in my boss's office filing paperwork, or so it seemed, which was odd but not alarming. The next week, my boss was going to be on vacation, and all the office staff had to attend a meeting for non-salaried employees at the corporate headquarters. While we were at the corporate thing, our office manager handed out new office keys to all of us, 3, that were there. My boss was on vacation and salaried. I asked, "Why are we getting new keys?" And she said it was because someone lost theirs. None of us had lost our keys. We were all sitting together and could easily confirm this. So I texted my boss to ask him, and he had no clue what she was up to. I got a bad feeling about what was happening. I called him after the meeting and told him to come by my house Sunday when he got back from out of town. I explained that I was 95% certain they were planning to fire him Monday. I didn't know what reason, I just had a gut feeling. I said it was too bad because if he was fired, I wouldn't want to work there anymore knowing that they would do shady stuff like that. He, jokingly, said that he should fire me first, so I could go on unemployment. I laughed and told him that he should write me a termination notice, and then if he doesn't get fired on Monday, it would just be between us. If he does get fired, I could take it to the unemployment office and have proof that I was fired for something that would make me eligible for benefits. So he did, and he was fired Monday for misfiling paperwork of some sort, and I definitely did not go back to work. They tried calling me in, and I told them that my boss had fired me already. I took the proof with me to the unemployment office and was good to go, until they, former employer, disputed my claim. I had a hearing, on the phone, with the unemployment office and my corporate HR person. HR. He wasn't fired. The paperwork he submitted with his claim isn't the right paperwork. It should have come from HR, not his manager. Unemployment. Why did the manager not do that then? Where is he? HR. He no longer works for the company. Unemployment. Why did he leave? HR. He was fired. Unemployment. Why was he fired? Getting exasperated. HR mumbles for doing paperwork incorrectly. Unemployment. Well, that is hardly the fault of the terminated employee. How is he to know that the paperwork is invalid that is coming from their supervisor? They told my HR that they could rehire me or not, but my claim was valid. They couldn't rehire me because they'd already filled the position, so I got to collect unemployment for a while before moving on to my next job. My former boss is doing well now, it seems, and I don't feel bad at all. For the record, it is very likely that they would have invented a way of firing me after they got rid of my boss. Had they done that, they would have made certain that my termination was such that I wouldn't be eligible for unemployment. I took that power away from them by getting fired preemptively. I am also positive that when I saw the office manager in his office, while he was away, she was arranging the setup for him to be fired. OP, you did an amazing job capitalizing on an unfortunate event by hitting those fools with a reverse Uno card, securing your unemployment, and swiftly escaping the company. I can't think of a better way to have escaped that situation. Well done. Our next story, titled, Be a Racist and Lie on Your Neighbors? Welcome to Eviction, Population U, comes from the user, Just Wait It Gets Better. I used to work in the private security field, not mall cops, but highly trained and skilled armed security. We worked residential buildings and complexes that were very high-end, like $200,000 cars in the parking garage high-end. Now, places like this are Karen Central. Imagine apartments full of Karens and entitled teenagers. Now, the company owner was awesome. A cop as his regular job, he understood what we faced. His advice was to be nice, but put the hammer down if you have to, and don't take their shit. Also, that if we didn't get 2 complaints a month about us for worthless shit, that we weren't engaging the residents enough. So, this is important to the revenge. Each supervisor had 10 to 15 properties under their control. Regular officers patrolled them, but we were in charge of helping with evictions, attending town halls on security issues, deciding how an officer patrols or updating what areas were being a problem or needing to be checked. I had 12. Now, in this one apartment complex, We had a couple always calling us. We have an emergency line from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. When we get there, they cry about their upstairs neighbor. It was a list of things they just changed. Stomping, music, talking, cooking smells, their dog going number 1 on the balcony and it dripping onto theirs. Valid complaints if we found evidence, and we never did. When they saw we were starting to question if they were real, they changed tactics and went racist. The couple above them were a sweet and wonderful middle-aged Asian couple. Husband was an immigrant, but the wife was born and raised American. These racist cretins had only talked to the husband, so they assumed, as all racists do, that they were both immigrants. So, this white sheet wearing couple started making comments like, "Those Asians," and "They're in America, why can't they cook American food?" and "I'm afraid to be in the parking garage when one of them is driving in it." While it angered me, those comments alone weren't enough for an eviction. Only thing I could do was have my officers put exact phrasing in the report. I did ask the property manager about the comments, and she said if they didn't say them to the residents and the residents didn't complain, there wasn't much she could do. So I tried to think of some way to get them evicted. Not only were they lying to get a couple evicted, but were calling in false things and wasting the officers' time to respond. And they didn't call just every once in a while. They called sometimes twice in one night, usually 5 to 8 times a week. So, a month later, the opportunity was handed to me. The Asian couple called me during the day and informed me they were going out of the country, China, for 2 weeks and no one would be in their apartment. They told me this just in case the other couple started complaining. I would know they were lying and asked to check their door once a night to make sure it was locked and not broken into. I informed the Asian couple to not tell their neighbors, none of them, that they were leaving, and besides myself, only tell the property manager. We had a patrol meeting that night. Officers didn't work in one specific region, so I told them all my plan. I wanted them to respond each time they call and write down exactly what they said happened, and also any racial terms no matter how minor. Mark the report urgent and send it out. We had an online system for all businesses. Email, schedules, report submitting, you get the idea. So away we go. During those 14 days, they complained 18 times. Everything was documented, and I took it to the manager. She looked it over and said, "Let's evict them." Side note, the client gets charged more for emergency response than they do for regular patrols, meaning their lives were costing money. So, there was no HOA because they were rentals. In this situation, myself, the property manager, and the tenants sit down at a table. The charges for eviction are read. If the eviction is security related, then I say what violations have been broken, etc., not opinions, just facts based on the reports which the tenants get a copy of. Then the tenants have a right to speak and ask questions. The property manager then decides what happens next. Do they stay or do they go? So they were sent a formal letter stating they were facing eviction and had 10 days to set up a meeting. If not, the eviction will be processed. They set one up. I get there, and the asshole couple and the manager are already present. The wife immediately digs into me because I was armed. Uniforms for those situations are a dress shirt, slacks, tie, and 1 weapon and 1 magazine. Things like elections can be dangerous. I just politely informed her that it was my uniform and not her call to make. She tried to say she will feel uncomfortable and wanted to reschedule, but the manager said this happens now or I will evict you. So they agreed to continue. Now, for legal reasons, these sessions were recorded by video. That way, the tenant can't lie in eviction court or sue. In front of me were all 18 reports and went over each one. Time, date, who called, apartment number. I also read out each line telling them to tell me what they feel is false and what is true. The only thing they said, the racial terms weren't true. At the end of each report, I basically said the report is accurate in the fact that tenants in apartment XYZ were playing their music too loud, but you are complaining the comments about their race are false? I get a yes answer every time. About the 7th one, I think the wife caught one. She started complaining that I was dragging it out. I just smiled politely and reminded her that this was my time and she had ample opportunity to object and ask me questions, but only after I was done. And then went through the rest and let them build a defense. Then, after I was done getting them to admit to lies, I informed them that the tenants in said apartment were actually out of the country at the time of those 18 reports and that the tenants provided proof that they were gone, and my officers checked the apartment 1 time a night and confirmed that it was empty. Then I smiled pleasantly and ended my part. But the look on their face was a mix of anger and fear. They didn't have a defense. Basically, saying myself and the manager were choosing immigrants over Americans. Oh, did I mention the manager as an immigrant? That went over like a hand grenade in a collection plate. Once they said that, she stopped it and told them she was. That made matters worse because they said she was just taking up for her own kind. During this, I'm calm and collected. Inside my mind, I'm thinking, oh. After a few more racial remarks, the manager just stopped them and said, guilty, and she would process the eviction paperwork with the courts in the morning. Long story short, they were given 14 days. From what I heard, the judge gave them 30 until they called him a racial name. I was able to call the nice Asian couple and let them know that it was over and they didn't have to worry because we would no longer respond to calls about their apartment for the next 14 days until eviction came through and the bad tenants left. But they were welcome to call anytime if they need help or have an issue. Security officers want to help so badly, but are limited by either laws, property management rules, or both, so it is nice to do some good. Man, it is so crazy how ridiculous some people can be. I mean, who the heck has enough time in the day to make 18 unsolicited false accusations? These people deserve to get evicted. OP, I have to commend you for standing up for what was right and helping out the innocent neighbors.